a magical kingdom in a mixed up world. You're in the sweet spot, baby. You're in the sweet spot, girl. You're in the sweet spot, darling. It's a magical kingdom in a mixed up world. You're in the sweet spot, baby. You're in the sweet spot, girl. You're in the sweet spot, darling. It's a magical kingdom in a mixed up world. It's a magical kingdom in a mixed up world. It's a magical kingdom in a mixed up world.
Welcome to the Sweet Spot. My name is Lynn, your host, and Ken's my co-host. Ken, how's it going?
Lynn, it is going. It is going. I'm looking forward to this episode. What is this? Episode
291. No.
291?
400. It feels
291? Like holy moly.
291. We're approaching 300.
Oh my gosh. That's when we hit 300, that's the magical number for syndication. So, yeah.
Yeah, we're going to have a big extravaganza. No, I don't know what we're doing. And then,
Yes.
well, welcome. Ken and I are both former Disneyland custodial cast members, and we talk about Disneyland. We're also authors of the books Cleaning the Kingdom. We have 2 volumes that we've written. The latest one that came out in 2015, and then 2019. And we have a bunch of things going on. We have Patreon, where if you want to help support the show, you can get a bonus show once a month for $5 or more. So if you go to Patreon, search the Sweet Spot, and you get $5 or more, you get 1 bonus show per month. And Ken and I record that sometime between the middle and end of the month, and we put it out, and we talk about more personal things or just subjects that maybe wouldn't fit in a full show. And we have a lot of fun doing it. Also, we have a YouTube channel that I upload the audio versions of this podcast, and we have some live streams we've done in the past, and we hope to get back to do those again soon. So subscribe today for that. I think that's basically the rundown on tonight's show. I know I'm really excited to talk to our guest tonight. We're going to have Robyn Shatz Sarvis on, and Robyn is a former Disneyland ambassador, guest relations cast member. She's done several roles at Disneyland in the early or mid 90s, and really excited to talk to her.
Yeah, that should be good. Before we get into tonight's show, we did want to note that we lost one of our contemporaries by the name of John Zucchero, Johnny Sugar, we would also call him.
Yeah.
He started at Disneyland while he was in high school in the late 80s, the mid to late 80s, and he stayed there. And he was actually still working there. And then this week, he was... Not a lot of people are actually working at the park right now, but he was there. He's one of the few custodial people there. And he had medical distress, and he passed away. So he's relatively young still, but he had an issue. He had like a heart attack last year, and ended up in the hospital, and then had like a pacemaker or something. So it's not completely unexpected, but it still hit like a ton of bricks, because he's one of those guys that, nobody ever had a bad word to say about him. Very dependable. If you have been a visitor to the park, or somebody who worked there since, the late 80s all the way through now, he had enough seniority now that he just basically worked during the week, days, work good days during the week. But, there's no way you worked there for a long, any length of time and didn't know him, because he was he had a great smile, great eyes, just a friendly guy, and it was just heartbreaking to get the news that he had passed. But that is unfortunately, it's life when you work with so many people and they spend so much of their life there. You're gonna know people who are dying young, and and it's sad, but he helped make magic and worked until literally his dying day, and he's going to be missed. So we're real people the cast members who work there are real people, and they deal with real life. But we still like to go, and the people who we used to work with who are still there will still go and put on a great show for you. So when the parks do reopen, they're going to be back there. John will be missed, but they're going to put on a great show for you, and you can have a good visit to the park. And so thank you for indulging us as we remembered a brother of the broom who has passed.
And now we're going to have the current events. Ken, what do you have for us?
Well, Lynn, I have some downtown Disney news.
Yeah.
Because, that's actually open.
It's the only thing open.
Yeah. Ralph Brennan's Jazz Kitchen reopens at downtown Disney. And this is a laughingplace.com article. When downtown Disney at Disneyland reopened last month, not everything was open. Many restaurants and shops guests were accustomed to experiencing had closed doors. Today, and this is by today, they mean August 12th, a fan favorite has returned, and Ralph Brennan's Jazz Kitchen has reopened. All that jazz, yes. That's good. Glad that's back open. They have
outdoor seating only, right?
Yeah. It has an extensive list of what the safety precautions are. Like menus are available on your mobile phone or presented on single-use paper to be recycled, right? Yeah. What do you think? You gonna head out and go to Ralph Brennan's?
No, I don't think I've ever eaten there. I mean, I've heard it's good, but I've never.
I actually have. I have eaten there. Yeah, but anyway. All right. Well, hey, the state is reviewing how when to reopen Disneyland and other California theme parks. Now, this is one of those Orange County Register stories from Brady McDonald. California state officials are reviewing how and when to reopen Disneyland, Universal Studios Hollywood, and other theme parks based on COVID-19 health data as the tourist destinations prepare to head into their 6th month of coronavirus closures. Wow.
It's a long 2 weeks.
That is a long 2 weeks. It's the longest 2 weeks. I guess time is relative here. I guess plans to reopen Universal, Legoland, and SeaWorld in June and Disneyland in July were put on hold indefinitely by a surge in COVID-19 cases and hospitalizations in California this summer that forced the state to roll back reopening plans. California theme parks currently closed by the pandemic can reopen during Stage 3 of Governor Gavin Newsom's 4-stage roadmap for reopening California's economy, according to state government officials.
Yeah. All right.
Yep.
So currently in Stage 2?
I guess so.
Or a modified version of that, or?
Yeah, I don't even know at this point anymore.
It's been so
All,
long,
all,
no one knows.
all I know is I'm looking for a speakeasy to get my hair cut.
Oh,
Um,
you gotta fly to Utah.
yeah, I will. I'll go. I'll fly. I heard there's a really good hair cutter in your town, so I'll check that out. Um, Another Orange County Register story. Will Disneyland keep annual pass holders out for weeks at a time? So this is another one of those speculation stories. Most of them I didn't bother to include because they're nothing but speculation. But this one cites stuff that's going on at Walt Disney World. A Disneyland reservation system modeled after the one rolled out at Walt Disney World could leave annual pass holders. Could leave annual pass holders blocked out of the Anaheim theme parks for days and weeks after the extended coronavirus closures eventually come to an end. Come to an end? I think he's being optimistic here. Disney World's new park pass reservation system gives the company virtually unlimited control. Unlimited control. Unlimited power over many annual pass holders. Over how many annual pass holders can enter its 4 Florida parks on what days? It's a level of control Disney has never exercised before over pass holders in Florida. In the past, pass holders largely regulated themselves by choosing a pass based on blockout dates and price. And the pass holders who chose the top tier passes were essentially granted unlimited access to the parks, except during the busy week between Christmas and New Year's. Now, Disney World has turned every annual pass into the equivalent of Disneyland's Flex Pass, which requires pass holders to make advanced reservations to get into Disneyland and Disney California Adventure on busy days. Disney World's 3 separate reservation calendars for annual pass holders, hotel guests, and daily visitors offer starkly different levels of availability, even as Disney World experiences lower than expected attendance. Daily ticketed visitors have their pick of all 4 of Disney's Florida park on any day they want for the next year or so. Overnight visitors staying at a Disney World hotel can go to any of the 4 parks on any day they want, except Disney's Hollywood Studios on Labor Day weekend. Reservations for Walt Disney World annual pass holders are unavailable for about 2 weeks and only available for Epcot for the rest of August. All AP reservations for the Magic Kingdom, Animal Kingdom, and Hollywood Studios are booked through the end of the month. So what does that mean for Disneyland? Maybe nothing, maybe nothing at all, but who knows? We'll see. Disneyland evaluating COVID-19 testing options for cast members. Yes, Disneyland is evaluating COVID-19 testing options for its 31,000 employees at the Anaheim Theme Park Resort as Disney World begins offering free coronavirus tests to its workers following a labor union agreement. Disneyland stage performers are represented by the American Guild of Variety Artists. In Anaheim, AGVA represents as many as 500 actors who perform in shows at Disneyland and Disney California Adventure. AGVA actors include performers in Frozen Live at the Hyperion and Mickey and the Magical Map, as well as atmosphere talent like the Dapper Dans and Five and Dime. AGVA actors were preparing for shows in the delayed Avengers Campus themed land and the canceled Oogie Boogie Bash event, according to AGVA representative Steve Rosen. So interesting. I wonder how they're going to do these tests. It's going to be interesting to see what they do. Disney rolls out pixie dust face masks for 100,000 Disneyland and Disney World cast members. Now, as it says here, more than 100,000 Disneyland and Walt Disney World cast members will wear matching pixie dust face coverings with hidden Mickey star cluster designs that will distinguish them from masks wearing theme park visitors in California and Florida. The unique and unified Disney face coverings were made in partnership by Disneyland and Disney World costuming teams for their cast members, which is Disney parlance for employees. Wow. That's those are going to be collectible. The design features a field of stars and hidden Mickey constellations on a blue background with purple and red streaks. Cast members will choose from 2 mask styles, pleated or contoured, in multiple sizes made from lightweight, breathable, and quick-drying material. The new masks made exclusively for cast members feature a contoured shape under the eyes, extended nose pinch area, adjustable spandex ear loops, and a tracking device. No, I added that last
air conditioning.
What?
What's the difference between pleated and contoured?
Well,
what do those mean?
Come on, aren't you a fashion maven?
Your interpretation.
No.
I am not.
It just has to do. Pleated has those like ridges in it. You know, I don't know. It's pleated for your pleasure.
All right.
The bi-coastal design team worked virtually to source and test a wide range of fabrics and features with an eye toward protection, function, comfort, and style. The team relied on feedback from cast members throughout the design process, according to Disneyland costume designer Janet Olshan. Disney cast members can take home the reusable and washable face coverings and personally care for them, or let Disneyland and Disney World launder them. Kind of like the other pieces of costuming. Yeah. Laughingplace.com also covered that story, so you can click through and read that. That's going to be a whole new thing now, cast member masks. And, it sounds like things are gearing up to reopen at Disneyland, but they're already reopened at Walt Disney World. So, how far behind will the cruise ships be? I don't know, but you know who does know? You know who's going to keep up on all of this? Is concierge.com. CONCIEARS.com. Concierge.com. Like mouse ears or concierge. There are magical vacation planners. They focus solely on Disney, so they know what the latest is, what all the changes are, how to get reservations. If you're going to go on a Disney getaway vacation, then you need to go to concierge.com, contact them, book with them, tell them the Sweep Spot sent you, and they'll give you a special gift when you do. Concierge.com is a no-brainer because it doesn't add any cost to your trip. They do all the heavy lifting as far as the planning goes. They know what's going on. They're up to date on all of it. It's a no-brainer, folks. My own mother, I sent my own mother to concierge.com. So go ahead and go to concierge.com and tell them the Sweep Spot sent you and book with them, okay? All right.
Sounds good.
Hello everyone, I'm Mike Renfro with Concierge, and welcome to the D180. While Kim and Lynn cover all things Disneyland, in the D180 we'll take a spin around the rest of the Disney universe, and we'll do it in 180 seconds. Let's jump right in. As these strange times continue, we appreciate everyone hanging in there with us. And we know that each one of these D180s doesn't always include the most greatest new updates of everything, because let's be honest, there's not a lot of changing right now when it comes to openings of new rides or new shows, but we are getting a few changes and some interesting tidbits. So let's look at health and safety real quick at Walt Disney World. We're always a big fan of safety for both the cast members, the community, and all of our families visiting. And Disney just announced a couple days ago that the state of Florida will be opening a new test site in Osceola County at Disney's main gate office complex near to Disney's Animal Kingdom. The test site is designed to serve Disney cast members, their families, and the local community, and will begin testing on August 14th. The testing hours will run from 7 a.m. to 4 p.m. almost every day of the week. And again, anything that we can do to keep the health of the community in tip-top shape, we're all for it. Now, while everything tends to be focused around COVID right now in the parks, don't forget that you can still go and there's amazing things happening, opportunities to be had, short lines at times. We've heard all kinds of great stories about people that are still having a good time while they're there at the parks. And of course, one of our favorite things going on, the Food and Wine Festival, kicked off on July 15th, and they're well underway, and lots of food and different experiences to enjoy there. And while we're talking about a few bits of good news, let's talk about the phased reopening here at Walt Disney World. Some exciting resorts are coming online, just as the Caribbean Beach did on the 29th of July. This month in August, we've got the Disney Yacht Club coming online on the 24th. In September, we're going to see the reopening of the Grand Floridian. And on October 4th, the Polynesian, and October 14th, Coronado Springs will be back. And it'll round out with one of our favorite value resorts, the Art of Animation, on November 1st. So plenty of great resort options coming to the parks for your whole family to enjoy. Okay, let's jump on over to the Disney Cruise Line real quick and finish up. And we'll go good news, bad news. So bad news first. On August 6th, the Disney Cruise Line did suspend most of their operations through October 31st of this year. The Disney Dream, the Disney Magic, and the Wonder have also canceled some of their early November Caribbean trips. So make sure that you're up to date on what's happening with your specific cruise. And of course, our team here is always ready to assist you. Well, let's talk about some good news. People always ask me, should they cancel ahead of time if they don't think their trip is going to happen? And I always say, if there's no financial penalty, go ahead and hold on to your trip confirmation until the last minute, because you never know what will happen. Maybe Disney will end up canceling your trip and you'll get some kind of bonus for that. And that's what's happened at the Disney Cruise Line, where we've seen cruises that were canceled and they've offered future credits equal to anywhere from 25% to 150% of the original voyage fare that can be used anytime up through March 31st. Disney is now extending that use of future credit all the way up to May 31st. This is of 2022. So that's a nice extension. And if you did happen to have your trip canceled and you have one of these credits, make sure you touch base with us and we'll get you set up on some great itineraries in the next year and a half. Now, speaking of some great itineraries, in fall of 2021, the Disney Cruise Line will return to some favorite destinations on a variety of itineraries, including sailings to the Caribbean, the Bahamas, Mexico, Canada, and Bermuda. Throughout that fall 2021 season, families will also be able to enjoy itineraries that celebrate Halloween on the high seas and Very Merry Time cruises. These fall 2021 itineraries just opened at the end of July for Castaway Club members and Disney Adventure Insiders. But right now, we're at full open for anybody to get on board for the cruise of a lifetime late next year. So definitely give yourself and your family something to look forward to, something to be excited about, and we'll all keep our fingers crossed that we'll start to see some return to normalcy by later this year. And that's 180 seconds. I hope you've enjoyed our quick spin around the Disney universe. If you'd like to learn more about these Disney adventures or any others, please come on over and visit us on our Facebook pages or the websites of both The Sweep Spot and us, their official travel planners, concierge. We look forward to planning something special for you and your family. I'm Mike Renfro, and this has been your D180.
So, Robyn, what is your Disneyland story? Like, did you grow up going to Disneyland, or was it something you went to later in life?
Now, my Disneyland story started very early. On my first visit to California from Pennsylvania, I was 6 years old, and we went, and I still have pictures of that, pictures of me with Mickey, with Pluto, with Winnie the Pooh with his old, honey pot on top of his head with the buzzing bee,
Oh, yeah.
like when Winnie the Pooh had all of that. And I finally moved to California when I was 10, and I saw the Disneyland ambassador in the Hollywood Christmas parade with Mickey Mouse, and I told my mom, that's the job I want. I want to be the ambassador, never knowing that it's a really, one, difficult, and two, competitive job to get. I just thought you just have to go when you ask for it and they give it to you. So I saw her in the parade, and from then on, from 12 years old, that's what I wanted to do. So after high school, my parents said, you should go to college. And I said, yes, but I'd like to work at Disneyland. And they said, well, we really would love you to go to college. And I said, yes, but I'd really love to work at Disneyland. So I unfortunately, and don't try this at home, but did very poorly my first year of college and ended up working at Disneyland. And that's how I ended up there. I started in guest relations in 1992. So it was a lifelong thing for me, and it was a dream come true, getting that my first role in guest relations. Great.
Wow.
Yeah.
1992. Fantasmic was
Yep.
brand new.
Oh, it was so good, and I was there for the cast preview and got to see Norm Burgess and heard all the cast members yell, Norm! Like from Cheers, it was our Norm. It was, I cried, I sobbed through the entire show, and I still tear up when I see Fantasmic. It's just, it's one of those things where not only is it an amazing show, but it was just such a time in my life that I was, young and in my early 20s and had met so many new people, and it was such a great experience to be a part of. So, boy, yeah, Fantasmic. May, I have my button from the cast preview of that. I love it.
Very cool. Yeah.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that brings back memories.
It does. It does.
Did you, so you were off on the East Coast. Did you make more trips to Walt Disney World than Disneyland?
No. So my first trip to Walt Disney World was in 1997. I had never been to Orlando. I know. I had been to Orlando. So I had been to Hershey Park because I was in Pennsylvania. So I had been to Hershey Park, but I had never been to Florida at all. And so my first visit to Walt Disney World didn't come till 97. Yeah. It was a long time before I got there. And it was cool. It was really, really cool to go and be there and just meet. I was there on a business trip, so I got to meet so many cast members and, experience so many things that we didn't have at the Disneyland Resort. But, home is home. So Disney World is amazing, but home is home. And it just, that never changed for me. But I do love Walt Disney World. Pretty great place to visit.
That's it's always good when your visit to someplace like Walt Disney World is on the company dime. That makes it a lot better. It was
very nice. I was very fortunate to get to travel and do that. And it was when the Disney Institute was open, so we did a cooking class while we were there, and lots of stuff that's just not there anymore. So it was cool, and it was while Animal Kingdom was being built. So they had just brought in the first animals into the habitats and stuff like that. They were still building most of the park, so it was a cool time to visit Walt Disney World. They had a lot of change going on.
Nice.
Yeah, it was cool.
So did you hire straight into guest relations then?
So I did, and this I was told later that this was something that was nearly unheard of. That most people do not hire directly into guest relations. And I was offered a position in parking lot about 9 months before, but I lived in San Diego, and I was going to be commuting. And at the time I was like, well, I really would love guest relations, and I don't really even live up there. Let me just wait and see. And I got really fortunate to get an interview in guest relations. Now, having said that, later on in my career, I went into management and I worked with the parking lot cast members. I was part of Center Stage, which of course was Main Street Attractions, guest relations, and parking. And those cast members are the best. I mean, I can't even pick a favorite group of cast members, but the parking lot is awesome. And I don't know what I was thinking, turning down a role there. I think I just had it set in my mind that I wanted to be a tour guide, but the parking lot was fun. I enjoyed working there a great deal. Really, really fun. Especially when the cast members who would, the leads for the day, they'll probably deny this, or maybe they won't, I don't know. But, they'll pick a section of the parking lot and park all the white cars in Pinocchio. When for the night, we've got all the rental cars. A lot of rental cars are white. Guests don't know what their own car looks like because it's a rental, and all the white cars are in one section of the lot. So, little fun, harmless type stuff like that. And it was just always, they're just still are a great group of cast members, and a lot of them are still friends to this day. So it was a cool.
They're the people that the guests see the first, and then the guests see them last. Those are the people that those are the cast members the guests are dealing with first and last during their visit.
Exactly. Exactly. So, They're the first and last impression. You're right. And the guests are super excited, and some guests leave their cars on and the engine running and just get out.
Wow.
And I did Lost and Found as part of guest relations, so we'd get keys every day, sets of keys that would be brought to us from security because guests were so excited to get there. They just threw the car into park and hopped out and forgot that the car was running. Yeah, wow. Regularly. But, so I hired directly into guest relations in 92, and I got super lucky. And it was a great group of cast members there, too. But I got to know really quickly that, there's no bad role at the resort. There's really not. It's such a well-oiled machine that everybody works together so well. And there are 90 other roles I would pick right now to do again because I learned so much. It's so cool.
If it wasn't needed, it wouldn't exist.
Right.
I mean, exactly. There's a reason that role exists, and it all fits together to create the show.
Right. And if we didn't have even one of those, it would be different. It would be a different experience for us and for our guests, and it's just not. It wouldn't be the same. So. I'm definitely in every role a starring role, proponent, because there's nothing there that's unimportant and nothing there that doesn't contribute to the show. It's great.
You mentioned the white car trick, or they've done that. They've done that in Florida too. I know, but that reminds me of one of the there were private parties especially back in the earlier 90s, and most of them were just kind of bare bones, okay, they're going to let the guests come in from certain companies, and they're just basically the park's going to be open for them. But Saturn did this thing for their customers. Saturn used to be a car company
I owned an S2 myself. That was the first car I ever bought.
I owned a Saturn too, but there might be younger listeners who are like, "What's that?" It's a defunct car company.
Yes,
so
exactly.
It was a brand of GM. So they did this thing for their customers. They had a private party, and they paid for Fantasmic, and they did this big thing. But then at the end of the night, when people were leaving, I'm like, well, good luck finding your car.
Yeah.
They all look alike.
Because the parking lot's just going to be full of Saturns, I mean.
That's funny. That's really funny. Yeah. I remember those private parties. Those were fun. Those were really fun.
Oh yeah. Those were. It would just be really mellow.
Right.
The park was uncrowded. People were just there from a specific company or organization, and
right. And sometimes if it was a car company, they'd park the cars right there in front of the Mickey Floral Planter. Like there was a Mercedes-Benz night, and they parked 3 Mercedes-Benz right out there in front of the Mickey Planter. And so it was always kind of something interesting and a little different that we didn't get to see during the day. That would happen at night for those parties. It was always kind of fun.
Yeah.
So you got to give tours as part of your job.
Yes.
Yeah.
I did. I was a tour guide, and so I did guided tours of the park, which are scripted, and part of the role of becoming a tour guide is to memorize. At the time, it was a 15-page script. I know there are several tours now. There's a Walk in Walt's Footsteps tour. They've done like a ghost tour for Halloween time. But at the time, it was the guided tour, which was about 15 pages, and we had to memorize that word for word and show that we knew it, and then give a guided tour, and then you got your guided tour pin, so you were able to be an actual tour guide, which was pretty cool and a really memorable moment for me. And it's it's kind of one of those. I know every department has one of those kind of coming of age or a ritual that kind of really gets you into the department, and that was the tour guides. We had to memorize that script and earn that pin, earn that D pin that we got to wear on our costume.
Any tours that stand out to you from those days?
Yes.
The specific one?
I had so just recently there was on TV the Eagles performed at the Forum, I guess a couple years ago, and they replayed that, and Deacon Fry, whose dad, of course, Glenn Fry, passed away, is playing in his dad's place with the Eagles. Well, I had Glenn Fry on tour when Deacon was a little guy.
Oh.
And I'm a huge Eagles fan, huge. I mean, gigantic. I had just been to the Hell Freezes Over tour in San Diego. I had the T-shirt, and of course, as cast members, we don't act starstruck. We don't, ask stuff. But I'm telling you, I carried that Hell Freezes Over T-shirt in my tour guide purse the entire day, looking for like a small opportunity, and of course build the rapport first, figure out if it's really going to be cool if I ask him for an autograph at the end. Right. And we ended up riding in the tail cone of the monorail back to the hotel, and it was the perfect moment, and he happily signed my Hell Freezes Over shirt for me. And it's one of my, I have it in it's like in a plastic box. I don't even want to touch it. It's like in a plastic box. Yeah. So I got to have Glenn Fry, and that was, I mean, the people in the world that I could meet. I think he's up there. Billy Joel would have been up there. But having Glenn Fry, spending the day with Glenn Fry was pretty dang cool. And I loved really doing just our regular guided tours too, because I got to meet people from all around the world, which was always super fun. And just meeting guests from everywhere was super cool. But really, if I had to pick one, I mean, come on, Glenn Fry. Yeah. That was cool.
And they played at Disneyland before they were famous.
I did hear that. Yes. Yeah. When was that? Like, it must have been early 70s.
Probably with Linda Ronstadt. They were basically
her backup band.
Yeah, they were her band. That.
That's amazing. Yeah. That's a great story. I didn't know that. That's just together.
Wow, it's just it's weird, some of the connections that have existed over the years.
Oh yeah.
Adina Menzel and Adela Dazeem, both of them.
Right.
They both.
Yeah.
I probably passed by her a bunch of times without she wasn't famous then.
Right. Right. That's the thing, right? Yeah. That's funny. Yeah, that was definitely a top tour for me. Glenn Fry.
That's so cool.
Yeah, super, super cool.
I think the tours are interesting because you probably get a lot of people that have never been to Disneyland ever before, and to see and to show them for the first time it's amazing. Right. Yeah.
It's a big honor. It really is a big honor, and most guests who attend the traditional guided tour are first-time visitors, and that's what the tour was designed for. And it is. It's super. It's really meaningful. I feel like to get to share little secrets about the park and get to share sort of, the things that I love about the park. At the time, we still had the Country Bear Jamboree, and boy, that I could talk hours about the Country Bear Jamboree and why it's this tiny little explanation of how Disneyland works. I have this whole theory about, the behind the scenes and where the spotlight is and where what's happening when you're not looking at it, and between Max Buff and Melvin, and then of course the sets revolving, and it's to me it's just
let's have you because I love that attraction.
I was going to say, Lynn hates that thing. Lynn hated that. He was so glad they took it out.
No,
So.
I was there, no, I absolutely love it, and I was there on the last day. I got to see one of the last showings.
Me too.
Yeah.
Me too.
And now here's a question, because I was there that day too, Lynn. Right? I was probably with you.
It was the day before 9/11, actually.
Yeah, I was gonna say, when was that? It was like the day. It was like the day before 9/11.
Yeah.
It was.
I was because I had a baby February of that year. My oldest son, my older son, was born in February of 2001, and
like California Adventure.
The same exact day. I mean, what else would a Disney kind of have a baby?
Oh my God! The
thing about that was I was calling everybody up there to tell them that I had the baby, and I was so annoyed that no one would answer their phones. I was like, "Why are answering their phones? I had a baby over here, people!" And I of course, quickly realized, oh right, they're opening a theme park, like an entire theme park. Wow. So yes, my first baby, was born the same day as California Adventure. Yep. Yeah. So.
We'll have to have you back on and really talk deep about Country Bear Jamboree, because I would love to do that.
I would love to. Okay. I really could talk for hours about it. It was one of my favorites. And even though it was an alternate attraction on the tours, my tours always went to the Country Bear Jamboree.
Awesome.
And so it closed. That closed in September of 2001. Mm-hmm. And then next day, everything goes to heck. So there you go. So, that's why.
That's a coincidence. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it was a great attraction, and of course, it's still in Walt Disney World. And so, when I was there. Let's see. Last year I was there for a film convention. I produced a film competition here in San Diego, and the international part of it was in Orlando last year. So I was there. We went for a whole week to Walt Disney World first. And I got to go visit the Country Bear Jamboree, which was super just nostalgic. And I had tears in my eyes watching it. And my younger son, who was 14 at the time, he was kind of like, "Mom, really, pull it together." And I make him look at Max, Buff, and Melvin every time we ride Winnie the Pooh. Every time we're on it, every Winnie's the Big Adventure, we always have to look for Max, Buff, and Melvin. And I think they think I'm a little off the rocker, but I don't care. It's worth it.
Wow. So, after you were a tour guide, what is your next role you did? I know you had several different ones.
I did. As a tour guide, I was asked to be an area tour representative, part of the Disney University, so for our new cast members who are coming in. Mm-hmm. So I was the kind of Main Street area tour representative, and I did that for a while. And then that same summer, I went through the Disneyland Leadership Development Program, so DLDP, and became an area manager. Well, not an area manager, a manager at Center Stage. And at the time, we were called assistant managers, and then that changed to call us supervisors. Anyway, long story short, I went through the management training program and was working with Dean Yamada, Dave O'Mell, Bill Hillis, Greg Wexler, Mike Eggert, in the main entrance area. So main entrance, main street attractions. And boy, I learned a lot. Those operations are huge. I mean, huge. And I loved it. I absolutely loved it. So I left guest relations to do that. But even though I was still kind of overseeing the cast members and guest relations too, and then that split apart as it goes. Sometimes the areas split up, and Center Stage split up, and I went to the main entrance with Kim Sims as my manager, and I loved that too. I got to work with the annual passport program for many years, and I was doing that when I was selected to be the Disneyland on the ambassador team in 1997. So that happened in late 96, and from there I maintained both roles, because at the time the ambassadors were doing not only the role that they were originally in at the resort, but also ambassador. So we were doing both at the time.
Wow. Okay. So let's back up a little bit. That was a lot of information. But I know that a lot of we kind of know what a lot of that means, but probably a lot of listeners didn't, but when you said you were an area new
Area
cast.
tour representative.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what
So
was that?
when new cast members start at the resort,
Mhm.
they go through class called university. And there is a set of Disney University leaders who lead the initial part of the orientation and the large bulk of the orientation.
Mhm.
And then new cast members get to break out and go into their actual areas. And they're accompanied then by the role that I was doing, which is an area tour representative. So after the cast members' orientation with their Disney University leader, they would split out and go into the areas with us, and we would introduce them to the cast members that they would be working with in their own areas.
Right. Okay. So you were Main Street?
Main Street, yep, Main Street, and then of course parking, like anywhere from the parking lot all the way to the castle, basically, was kind of my area.
So if someone was worked, in merchandise or
Yep.
foods or
Right.
any of that, yeah.
Yes, any of that.
Attractions.
Merchandise, foods, Main Street attractions.
Because we have to remind people, this is while the parking lot was still a parking lot out in front of the park. California Adventure wasn't being built yet, so it was, parking lot was an actual lot. It wasn't a parking structure. So, yeah.
No, a gigantic flat lot right there, right in front of the resort, right in front of the park. Yeah. So,
Wow.
yeah.
And, okay, so you said selected for the ambassador program. You make it sound like somebody, came around and tapped you on the shoulder and said, "Hey, want to be ambassador?" But,
I wish. That would have been so much easier.
Yeah.
you skipped over the part where you had to sacrifice several goats and.
Yes. Well, I know. Yeah, it's quite the process. It's quite the process. So the process begins several months before the ambassador is selected for every year, and you go through a series of interviews and an application process, and then there's sort of several rounds. So they start with a group interview, and then you're asked kind of general questions about the resort and the company, mostly about yourself. And sort of your connection to the resort. I think all of our roles, right, are all about connection to the guest, connection to the legacy, connection to our fellow cast members. So they just really want to get to know who you are as a person. And I actually went through that process 3 times, and I was a finalist for the original team concept of the ambassadors, which was for the 40th anniversary of Disneyland in 1995, and I was a finalist for that. And I'm embarrassed to admit that it didn't occur to me when I was a finalist that I wouldn't be selected. I really am embarrassed to admit that, because like I told you guys, from the time I was 12, I wanted that job. So when I applied and I went through the process and became a finalist, even though I was one of 10 finalists and the odds were really small that I was going to, actually be selected, my brain just never thought, okay, this is not going to happen for you. There's a chance you're not going to get this. And so I'm really embarrassed to admit I was shocked when they selected 3 different cast members for that first year, who were, of course, an amazing team. It was Jerry, Michelle, and Julia was the very first team of ambassadors, because previously the ambassadors had been individuals. And so they were a groundbreaking team and wonderful, fellow ambassadors. And I applied again the following year, and again the following year, and in late 96, I was, through the process, was selected as an ambassador for the 97 team with 2 other women, Kathy Milam and Christina McGeorge.
Wow. So that's a huge deal. I remember seeing it, seeing the ceremony they would have and everything.
Right. Yeah, the ceremonies are super fun. They've changed a bit now, and they're quite a bit more subdued, which actually makes sense. It's kind of a lot of expense, right, for something like that. So I understand why it's changed, but I will say that it was really, really unique experience to be on Main Street before the park opens. You guys have done that. You know what that feels like. It's a really, if I can use the word intimate, maybe, like feeling like it almost feels like you're there with Walt, or you're there with just the the legacy of the resort. And I love being on Main Street when the park is quiet and there's no guests, but the music is still there, you know, and just the smell of the wet asphalt from the power washing and just everything about it is so just so warm and welcoming to me.
Well, I think the best part about that ceremony to me is when you have to pull the sword out of the anvil that Julia Reams stuck in there, you know, and every year somebody has to pull it out. So
I know I was not sure I was going to be able to do it, and it was pretty impressive. I was like, this is great. So not only I'm the ambassador, I'm also now the Queen of England. This is fantastic.
There you go. All right.
Yeah.
Oh.
That's funny.
Now, did you have to work? You probably had to work, you know, like in City Hall, right, at the desk.
Yeah, I started mostly after being a tour guide for a while. I was trained in City Hall, so I spent a good deal of the summers of '93, '94, and part of '95 in City Hall with. Do you guys know Janet Tanasugarn? She's a fellow tour guide, fellow Disneyland ambassador as well. But at the time, we were kind of like co-City Hall. I don't know. We just were there every weekend. It was kind of, we just opened it every weekend. So yes, I spent a lot of time in City Hall. I was there actually for a lot of the private parties, and you know, the last when the Main Street Electrical Parade was going away, I was a manager working in City Hall. Yeah, that was no
96.
Yes, yep, that's right. I was a manager then, and that was no fun working in the last night of the Electrical Parade.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Yes.
we had, gosh, like so many other corporate workplaces in the 90s, Disney went through a thing called Empowerment Evolution.
Yep, the Empowerment Evolution.
We had circles of excellence, and my first indication that this was not just something happening at Disneyland was I saw a Dilbert cartoon that referred to it, and I realized, oh, this is stuff they're doing. This is just general corporate movement right now. And so we ended up getting trained to, you know, try to handle things ourselves. If a guest was upset about something, it's like, you know, try to do service recovery ourselves, and rather than just saying, well, you know, go down to City Hall, because now the park's not open now, but if it was, they would have guest relations people stashed throughout the park. But back then it was, if they weren't doing a tour, it was City Hall, you know. And so it was, that's where you sent somebody when you just couldn't solve their problems. So, you know, if we were at the point where our service recovery couldn't solve it, then it must have been really bad. You know, it's like, well, I'm sorry, but you're going to have to go to City Hall on this one, you know. Yeah.
Yep, get to come see me. Yep, that's exactly right. That's exactly right. I was kind of in the middle empowerment evolution between being an hourly cast member and a management cast member. And I remember thinking like it was a great idea because it used to frustrate me that guests would have to walk from Frontierland to me to get their popcorn replaced because it spilled. Like that seemed
Yeah.
yes. And so that part of it I love. That part of it that guests could just get their, you know, their small problems or, you know, little mishaps handled on the spot. I love that aspect of it for sure, because that just helped everybody. It helped all of us, you know. But yes, it was quite. You're right. It was a big corporate movement, and you know, it had its ups and downs for sure.
There was one day, it might have been in '96, where there was just a power outage. I don't know if you were there that day. I was working in Indiana Jones, and so I saw like extra work lights came on more than normal. So I'm like, something's different here. And at first I thought it was just Indiana Jones, and then I was off work, and so I'm leaving. I go, oh, the whole park's experiencing a power outage.
Yes.
And then it turned out to be like the whole Western U.S. You know, it wasn't just a Disneyland or Anaheim thing. It was the whole West. So, and I thought, well, I'm glad I'm off work now, because
Yeah.
I mean, if you're in some place like City Hall and something like that happens, that's just completely beyond the the park's ability to control.
Right. Yeah.
And everybody's upset.
We had a big stash of comp tickets for situations like that. Not that we kept out where we could just reach them, but we definitely kept them. And there was a small fire in an attraction one day, and that was one of the issues. I think it was in Tomorrowland. Actually, was it a people mover fire?
Might have
I'm trying to
been.
remember. It was a small fire. Fortunately, no one was injured. But it's one of those things where everybody that is impacted by it, we're going to see them in City Hall. So we kind of have back up and get ready to deal with that kind of thing.
That's true. So I mean, you would get a lot of complaints, but it's also a good opportunity to turn someone's maybe bad situation into a good one, which is always a rewarding thing as a cast member, I found. Yeah. Yeah,
that was one of my favorite parts of working in City Hall is you had the opportunity to change stuff, and we had a phone line that we could get a hold of Goofy like immediately to say happy birthday to Get. So I could call Goofy and ask him to say happy birthday, and we always had these opportunities to make magic moments for the guests. We also had a great direct line to the characters. They could sign autographs for us for guests, so we would be able to do those kinds of things. And typically we had direct access to the area managers if there was something that really needed us immediately. It was, and that was a great opportunity to, you're right, turn somebody's day around and hopefully change their experience so that they leave with a better memory.
Right.
The bat phone was pretty cool. I used to love calling Goofy, and we could make we'd have the phone ring, and there was Goofy wishing somebody happy birthday. So it was pretty fun.
Nice.
Yep.
And when you finally got the your rightful place as the ambassador, so tell us about how that went. How did that go? I mean, you've been named ambassador, and now what?
That's exactly what I said. I was like, well, now what happens? Yeah. Now what are we going to do? And so one of the first things that we did was we got our hair cut, which was interesting. And I don't want to put too much emphasis on this because obviously it's cosmetic. Obviously hair is like one of the least important things in the world you can deal with. But I will just say it was a big change, right? I went from having longish brown hair to having super short red hair. And again, in the big scheme of life, is that a big deal? No. But in my 25-year-old mind, it was kind of a big change at once, So we got, we got to get our costumes together, and that was sort of at the time when the ambassador costume was changing from the traditional plaid to more business attire. We were doing a lot of community events and such, and so we were actually one of the first, actually, we may have been the first ambassadors who got pants, which is kind of interesting because until then, all the female ambassadors wore skirts only. And so we were able to have slacks, and that, again, in the big scheme of life, is that a big deal? No, but it was kind of a big deal for the program because we were sort of looking at it, moving it into contemporary and business attire and that kind of thing. So woo, pants and short red hair. That sounds so like I'm complaining about something so important. And I'm not complaining at all, but it's just all new at the time. And we went through a great, an amazing, actually, media training with Bob Roth, who worked at the resort, and then Tony Perry, who runs his own media company. And they taught us and really shaped the way that we speak on camera, on radio, how we work with the characters on radio, especially because, of course, Mickey saves his voice for film, and so he doesn't speak when he's in a radio studio. So how do we communicate what Mickey's trying to say and what Minnie's trying to say? And we did a ton of training, got to go to the studios and I got to hold Walt Disney's Oscar, which was one of the coolest moments of my life. I was like, this is pretty dang cool right here.
Yeah.
And, meet Dave Smith of the Archives, which was amazing. And Dave, who's unfortunately no longer with us, I was so fortunate to meet him. And
Yeah.
in '97, we had a lot of Disney legends with us who are no longer with us now. And would John Hench and Mark Davis and Robert Sherman, who's no longer with us. I got to meet all of them, and some legends who are still with us. Just people who had the hand in the very beginnings of the park and the company, and it was pretty cool. Gosh, I kind of got off track. I'm sorry, but
no, that's exactly what we wanted. That's exactly what we wanted.
One of the things that we started doing was we were starting right around the holidays, and so we got to go with the characters to hospitals, and we also went with the Disneyland band. They have the band concert series, which is where they teach second graders all throughout Orange County about music and about different instruments and how they work together. And one of the last songs that they play, which is super, super fun, is the William Tell Overture.
Uh-huh.
And the interesting thing is these guys have never seen the Lone Ranger. They're they're 7. But they hear the music and they're galloping in their seats. It's something about that music that just invites, you to just kind of bounce up and down in your seat, I guess. I don't know. But so we got to do a lot of really neat community outreach, and cast member volunteer events, and each of us for that year picked sort of a cause, and I was working with literacy in the community, so I did a lot of reading. I got to record a book for record an audio book, and it was specifically at the Institute for the Blind out in Riverside, but audiobooks of course are popular for sighted and non-sighted people, but so we did a lot of community outreach, and then of course we had the cool stuff going on at the resort. And you guys are going to love this, because who remembers what happened in the summer of 1997 at the Disneyland Resort, the big summer show?
Light magic.
Yeah.
Yes. So we did a big, all the press about light magic, and I got to travel to Canada, the Pacific Northwest, Oregon, Northern California, to do a press tour for Light Magic, which was awesome. I mean, I loved it. I loved traveling with the characters, with the show services crew, with everybody. It was probably 30 of us or so, and just a really, really great tour, and got to meet, the media, but also guests in the community from all over the Pacific Northwest and Canada, talking about Light Magic. And then we, of course, had the press events at the park as well. So it was a big summer.
Wow. Yeah, that was big.
That was big.
And that show is still going. Oh no, it's not. Never mind.
I know. No way. It actually goes the same summer, as it turns out.
It was a special edition, limited edition show. There we go.
That's the best way to describe it. It was a one summer only, limited edition, limited run.
Yeah.
The Mylar confetti is probably still being found, though. That's the thing. That's probably...
My favorite part of the whole... First of all, I will say I did not hate Light Magic. I did not hate it. I understand why it had such a hard time replacing the Main Street Electrical Parade.
Yes.
And I don't think anything would have been super successful replacing the Main Street Electrical Parade. So, just saying that. But I did love the characters in their pajamas. That could not have been cuter. And I loved Eeyore in his little nightshirt with his nightcap. And, they were so cute. They were just so cute. And the whole concept of the evening, and, I really got behind it. And I was a little surprised at the negativity that it garnered, but I understand it, too, because, the Main Street Electrical Parade was just part of the fabric of the Disneyland park, and there's no way to replace it. There's just not.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, and that was certainly an interesting time.
Yes. There was a lot of change at the resort in the mid-'90s. We had a new president.
Hmm.
And actually several, right? Because we had Paul and we had Cynthia, and
Well,
then it's kind of this
well,
series.
back then, there was Jack Lindquist, and that
Yes.
was it. We never really. I mean, you had Dick Nunis was kind of president of Disneyland and Walt Disney World and all that stuff.
Right.
And then eventually Jack Nunis gets named president of Disneyland, and he's there. He's got that position for several years before you get a new president. And back then, they lasted a few years at a time, like several years. Now it seems like every year it's like, well, the revolving door is gone. Somebody else is president of Disneyland now.
Yeah, there's been a lot of turnover.
Yeah. Almost yearly.
Mm-hmm.
So you got to meet a lot of, as ambassador, you got to meet a lot of, like Michael Eisner, and people
Yes.
that. So.
Yeah, I did, and actually, I got to meet Michael Eisner as a tour guide as well.
Oh.
Then I just saw him in the park one day, and I just kind of went up to him and talked to him. He didn't have his name tag on or anything, which was kind of cool. It was pre-Fantasmic, so I was like a brand new cast member. I had all the guts, and I was like, I'm just going to walk up to him. I'm just going to go talk to him. Like, what's the worst that can happen, And he was very, very pleasant. That was really lovely. And so, yeah, we got to do a lot with the executives of the resort,
Right.
which I feel really fortunate for that. And I don't know if you guys knew Hideo from the Disneyland Hotel at the time. He was sort of I don't know his official title, but he was the head of the resort hotels, at the
familiar.
time.
Yeah.
Lovely, lovely man. He has since passed away, but just a lovely man. And I was always just impressed with the desire to carry the legacy that the resort has, and I mean, some people did come in and make some major change, but even so, I still feel like the executives that I met and, that I worked with really had that at heart. They really had the big picture of the park at heart. And I love that. And I appreciated it. So yes, I got to meet Michael Eisner. I actually was, when Frank Wells was killed in that accident, I attended his funeral as a tour guide. So we were helping guests find their way to the studios because the funeral was held on a soundstage there.
Right.
And so even though it was a really somber event, I got to meet Bill Nye the Science Guy that day. And for me, science week, I was like, are you kidding me right now? This is the coolest thing in the world that I'm meeting Bill Nye the Science Guy. But of course, the event itself required, much more decorum than I was feeling in my heart when I met Bill Nye the Science Guy. And then Goldie Hawn and Kurt Russell as well, which was, Disney legend Kurt Russell. So that was the coolest too. And I think my most memorable moment of that day was Robert Redford was delivering a eulogy, and his plane was late getting into maybe Burbank Airport, probably, I'm guessing. But he came barreling up in a vehicle. I don't remember what he was driving, a black sedan, and he got out, door still open, car in park, car still running, and just took off for the soundstage because he had arrived late on a plane. And I remember thinking to myself, it was just so surreal, like all of a sudden you're like, well, that's Robert Redford. Like, of course that's ridiculous that was Robert Redford just running right in front of you to get to this, to go deliver Frank's eulogy. And
Wow.
it was a really, really, again, kind of like a bonding experience, like we were talking about before with Fantasmic. When you're around your family of cast members, you feel this sense of family and community, and there was definitely that day on the studio lot, for sure. A lot of us were up from the resort, too, and it was definitely a close-knit day and a sad day for all of us.
Right. Yeah, that was a big deal. 1994. Well, it's funny, you said Michael Eisner walking around the park without a name tag. He was like 6'6".
Yeah, a tall guy.
And he was doing those opening segments on the Sunday night Disney show on television. It's not like just taking off his name tag. It's not like people are not going to know who he is.
Exactly. and he was very recognizable, and I was surprised. But he was walking around with Tony Baxter because they were doing, kind of pre-Phantasmic stuff, and they were talking about it, and I just kind of took my moment and went up and fangirled a little bit, and then left them to on their own. But boy, that was a really, really memorable moment for me. That was a big deal.
And see, Tony never stopped being a fan of Disneyland. So
No.
if you ever
Right.
bump into him in the park, it's like oh, he's there being a fan too.
Right. Right.
Even if he's working. So.
I got to do the 10th anniversary of the Disney Gallery opening with Tony and with quite a few Disney legends that day. Sam McKim and John Hench and Peter Ellenshaw, Mark and Alice Davis. And just, it was one of those days where I just kept pinching myself, like thinking, what did I do right that this is my life right now, that I get to meet these people who, are just world-renowned artists and, had such a hand in the building of this amazing creation. And, yeah, it brought tears to my eyes a lot. I'm very, very emotional as it is, but, boy, some of those days were really just memorable for me.
Yeah, it's interesting. Like somebody like Ellen Shaw or Mark Davis, or it's. If you know something about Disney, you know their names, but there's people who have seen their work in movies. Just millions and millions and millions of people who have seen their work in movies, and they wouldn't recognize the name, or they wouldn't recognize them if they saw them in person. And it's just like. Some of those guys have done work that has been seen by more than like the most famous movie stars that are out there.
Right.
How many millions of people have been on Pirates of the Caribbean,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. Especially in all its iterations around the world. We got to, I took my son to Disneyland Paris this year. It was my first visit to that resort and my son's first visit out of the country at all. And this was just in February of this year, and we got home 2 days before the whole world shut down. So it was kind of a thing. We kept watching the news, wondering if the resort out there was going to close, and it closed. We got home Thursday. It closed on Sunday, and that was it. And it was closed. And of course, they're back now, but aren't they? Paris is back open now, right?
Yeah.
I thought they were, but they closed a few days after we were there. So, we went on their Pirates of the Caribbean, and it's home. It just feels like home every time you hear the music and you smell the bayou, and it just feels like home. And it's just the coolest, moment to know that you're around the world, you're halfway around the world, but all these moments and these characters and this art and this beautiful story that that lives around the world. So it's kind of cool.
Definitely.
I had a question about ambassadors, and Ken and I were both wondering this. What happens to the ambassadors after you're done serving your time there for that year?
See, I picture what they do. What they do is they count down to midnight, right?
Yeah.
At the end of your tenure, and then they at midnight they remove the watch the tracking device watch that they have put on your wrist. They remove that.
Yes.
They put you in a cardboard box, and then you are shipped off to Siberia. I don't know.
Yeah, it's like there's a moratorium for like 10 years. You're not allowed to go out in public. It's the whole thing. We had to sign a bunch of paperwork. No, it's we have a great group of former ambassadors, and we meet pretty regularly, actually, over Zoom. When we were able to meet in person, we would always get together on Disneyland's birthday. We get together for, not this year probably, but for candlelight every year. And so, we just become this kind of little group of former ambassadors. And I will say that in the mid-90s, the ambassador program was going through change. We weren't actually sure if the program was going to continue because, budget restraints being what they were. And, the former ambassadors at the time really made a push to continue the program, even if it had to go through change to do it. And that was my ambassador year was the result of the original group of ambassadors pushing for that because we were able to compromise and maintain our own roles, and so our areas were paying our part of our salaries. So that's kind of how they managed the budget at that time.
Mm-hmm.
And now it's a little different. Now the ambassadors are solely ambassadors, and that happened relatively quickly after our year. But there was, there's a transition time, and I think that the former ambassadors are really great advocates and voices for the new ambassadors who come on, and we get to talk to them, and we encourage them, and it's a great job, but it's also a lot of work. I mean, you're on call 24 hours a day. You're attached, just like, I guess it's not, again, I'm not complaining about the job. It's just, it is what it is, right?
Yeah.
You're the official representative. So if an event comes up where they need a representative, whether it's at 3 a.m., which is Australia's evening show, or, whatever, you have to go, and you get to go, and you're just kind of, for that year, and now it's 2 years, you just know that you're the go-to person, and it's a huge honor. And those of us who are now former ambassadors, I don't know one former ambassador who has bad memories of being an ambassador. When we get together, we talk about magic moments that we were able to have as ambassadors. It sounds a little sappy and like a little bit Pollyanna, but it really is that type of group of people where we wanted to have that role, and we were so proud to have it that you're not going to hear us complain about it. You're not going to hear us say bad things. And not just because we do it in private, but because honestly, it was a great opportunity. We met people, we traveled, we met our fellow cast members. We got to cross-train in lots of areas. I got to go be a bellhop at the hotel. I got to learn to make hot dogs in Toontown. I got to work with horticulture. And, we did so much stuff that really just kind of, it highlighted and brings into really specific relief all the different roles of the resort and how important they are to the overall show.
Yeah, it's really great. I'm glad they keep doing it. They had an event that, let's see, I don't know if it was for the 50th. I can't remember what it was, but they had all the the ambassadors they could get back together, and it was part of some sort of ceremony. I can't remember what it was, but I was doing the cleanup after it. Was that like the 50th or?
I'm trying to remember.
Yeah.
Was it where we had the pin release? We had a pin release.
Maybe it was.
Maybe. I'm trying to remember what year that would have been. I think I was living in Texas, so like 2007. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, but we do get to come back when they hold the ambassador ceremonies. All the former ambassadors get to come back, participate briefly in that. And we did have one time they did a pin set that was cloisonne pins of the three different, now there would be more, but at the time, 3 different ambassador crests that existed. There was the D pin, and then there was an initial crest, which was the one that I had, which had, the fleur-de-lis for Walton Roy, and then it had the lion as part of the Disney family crest, and, just other different symbols on it. And then there was a third crest, and now we went back to the D pin for a while, and now the worldwide ambassadors all wear the same pin, and it's like a Mickey head with, I'm pretty sure it's Sleeping Beauty Castle on it. I'm trying to picture it, and then it says ambassador. So all the ambassadors worldwide now have the same pin, whereas the resorts used to have their own pin separately. So now everybody worldwide has the same global ambassador pin.
Cool.
Yeah, it's really neat.
I think it's great that you got to do that after deciding as a kid that you wanted to do that.
Yeah.
That's statistically speaking, you have less chance of doing that than you have than the average guy has of winning the World Series. Or
right.
Because there's a whole team that does that every year, right? Well,
right.
This is even more rare than that.
Yeah.
It's rare, and it is not lost on me how rare it is. It's really something that I keep close to my heart, and I'm really proud of it, but I'm also just really humbled by it because it was, there were so many cast members from which to choose, and there are every year. I think we started out the year that I applied and was finally selected. I think we had, I don't know, maybe 150-ish, I'm going to guess, cast members who applied for the program. So it's not really like, you know, a random selection out of the whole resort. There's fewer cast members who choose to apply. So about 150 of us applied, but it was a huge deal. I mean, I still think about the day that we had the ceremony and I heard my name, and the first two ambassador teams, 95 and 96, both had a male, and the first team had 2 females, the second team had 3 females. So when they announced as part of my ambassador ceremony that there would be 3 cast members selected, we had 5 men and 5 women as finalists, and I thought for sure, in my head, I thought, well, it's going to be at least 1 man, and, you know, maybe 2, maybe 1 woman. It just didn't occur to me that there would be no men. And so having been through the ceremony before, like I was telling you guys, and having not been selected, I was very aware that that was a possibility. Like, I was super prepared that time to not hear my name announced, and they announced in alphabetical order, and our last names are Milam, McGeorge, or McGeorge, Milam, and Shatz. And so they announced 2 women first, and in my head, I was like, well, that's it. That's it. It's over. It's okay. I'm fine. You know, I'm prepared for this. And then I remember thinking to myself, hold on a second, that was my name. That was like my name. Hold on a second, that was me. And I kind of, you know, I remember I watched the video. It's still on VHS. I need to get it on DVD. But I have the ceremony on VHS, and my face is just hilarious because I remember thinking to myself, that's, you know, okay, it's somebody else. That it is okay. That's what it is. And then I remember thinking, oh, no, that's me. That was my name.
Wow.
Cool. Pretty neat moment.
You had Steve Harvey there just in case, though. he was going to spring out and announce you as the ambassador anyway. So right.
Yeah.
Was it hard going through having the Secret Service investigate you before you could be named the ambassador? I mean, you know,
the cavity searches were really worse than the Secret Service thing. No, it was. You know what? I do have a little Secret Service story, actually. Now that you mentioned that,
Okay.
As a tour guide, I got to host So, gosh, let me think of who this was. Why did we have? Well, one time I hosted the governor of Maryland, so we had our own California Highway Patrol who guards the governors.
Yeah.
They were there, and they wear these fanny packs that have their service weapons in them, and I don't know who they think they're fooling because these things are ginormous, and there's clearly some type of weapon in them. I don't know what. It was really kind of interesting thing. But then I also had someone at one point from the nation of Palestine, and one of their leaders, and he was guarded by our Secret Service, and that was really nerve-wracking, to be honest. It was really nerve-wracking because these guys were like backs against the walls and, you know, looking in and out of doors, and it was just something I wasn't used to. I know you don't feel weird about walking around the park, you know, you just don't. But having those guys with me, I was like, wow, this seems like it could be a situation. Fortunately, yes, exactly. Actually, there was no situation, and we just ate at the Blue Bayou and called it a day. So that was good.
It was weird when Pluto turned out to actually be a service dog that was sniffing out the explosives wherever
That's right.
You know.
That's right.
Yeah. Well, no, I mean, foreign Secret Service does provide for foreign dignitaries. That's for sure.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. And then our Highway Patrol for governors, for visiting governors.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which was really cool. The governor of Maryland sent me a neat little engraved silver cup that had a crab on it from the Chesapeake Bay. It was like a Chesapeake Bay thing that had the governor's crest on it. That was really like a nice little gift that he left me with afterwards.
That's nice. That's all these cool little mementos.
Yeah, you know, I have another good little story real quick. When I was a tour guide, I had Rudy Giuliani, right? His first wife, Donna Hanover, she was my guest. He was not there, but she was my guest with her kids at the resort, and she sent me a lovely letter afterwards and said, if you're ever in New York, please, give me a call. And of course, it's probably formulary, right? Okay, thank you very much. And I thought, well, I'm never going to be in New York. Well, I don't know, 2 years later, 3 years later, I left Disneyland. I was working for Princess Cruises, and I was on a cruise ship that docked in New York. And I had that letter with me. I carried it with me because I thought it was really, really special. I had the letter with me in my my belongings. I was an assistant cruise director. I got off. I found a payphone because this was 97. I didn't have my own cell phone at all. I dialed her office, and after telling them at her office who I was, they put me through to her, and I got to speak with her for a few minutes. And from a payphone in New York off the pier near the Intrepid.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's nice.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a crazy thing.
Wow.
Yeah.
How and when did you leave Disneyland?
I left Disneyland in June of 1998. So about 6 months after my ambassador term ended, I left and I went to Princess Cruises. Like I said, I got a job with them as an assistant cruise director. So I joined a ship in Alaska for 8 weeks. Then I joined a ship, at the time, the largest cruise ship in the world, the Grand Princess, over in Europe. And we did the Mediterranean for 8 weeks, transatlantic to New York for the inaugural, and then down to the Caribbean for 8 weeks. It was a very tiring job. That was a really exhausting job. One of the most tiring jobs I've ever had. And I'm a nurse, so I know exhausting jobs. That one was tiring. Yeah, that was a lot of work, but really fun. So I left the resort mid '98, and I still am in touch regularly with so many of the people that I worked with up there, and yeah, it's still just such a huge part of who I am, and kind of who I have around me too. It's just kind of woven into the fabric of who I am.
Well, yeah, ever since they implanted that chip, I mean, it's
I know.
No, but it really is. We were talking about this. We did a sort of Zoom get together to remember our friend Johnny that we were talking about before we were recording.
Right.
And we were talking about just how, we do, even though some of us, it's been many years since we worked there, and it's just like there's something about it. And I think it's like, in our case in custodial, it's like if you've worked in New Year's Eve, if you've had to cooperate with each other to clean up a flooded restroom, then you're forever going to be bonded,
Yeah. That's so true. It's so true.
Yeah. Now you said you're a nurse?
I am a nurse. I became a nurse in 2014, so this is kind of a second career for me.
You just don't stick with one job, do you? No.
I do a lot of stuff. I've done a lot of stuff, yeah, and I love it. I mean, I love learning new things and meeting new people and doing stuff like that. So I was a birth doula, which I don't know if you guys have heard of a birth doula before, but
yes.
Yeah. Oh, good. Wow, I'm so impressed.
Well, my father-in-law is a retired OBGYN.
Okay.
So,
Okay. Well, then that makes sense. That makes sense. Yeah. So I became a birth doula when my younger son was born, 2004, and I've been a doula since. And I decided to go back to nursing school. And so, yeah, I became a nurse at 44 years old, and I enjoy it. I really enjoy it. Right now I'm on a heart, lung, and stroke floor, working with COVID patients, and it's, this is the time that this type of work is needed. And so, it's a lot, but it's good, and we're making a difference. And so that makes me happy.
You have slightly more work than you would if you were still with the cruise line.
Yes,
Yeah.
Far less alcohol
Yeah, less.
on the cruise ship.
Are you an LVN, RN?
I'm an RN.
An RN. Okay. Yeah, I didn't want to Yeah, my wife's a pretty much retired RN, so that's
Good for her.
yeah.
I want to be a retired RN someday. That's my goal.
Oh my gosh.
My mom is a retired RN too, so I come by nursing honestly.
That's okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
See, that's what my wife did too. Followed in her mother's footsteps, and
It's a good career. It's a good career, and I love people. I love meeting new people. It's definitely the kind of job where you have to be able to just walk in and act like you know what you're doing, even if you don't, because you're the one in control. You need to make sure that you're setting the tone for, making sure that patients are safe and all that. So I'm definitely, it's right up my alley to build a rapport with people and let them know that they can trust me to keep them safe and do the right thing for them. So I love it. I really enjoy being a nurse.
See, that's the thing with people. People will dismiss Disneyland jobs and say that, oh, that's just a high school job or something, But
no.
I'm sure that you have found your Disney experience to be very helpful in what you're doing now.
I will give you several examples of that, actually. Yes, I did. I do. I use it every day. And my fellow nurses actually will say, is that a Disney thing? Because I use so many things. One of them is the handwritten signs. Boy, you guys, these guys try to put up handwritten signs in places. And I'm like, no, we're typing that up. We're laminating it. We're not putting up signs. And they laugh at me, but I'm like, you guys, this is the impression. Right now we don't have families visiting, but like patients and their families, they're seeing this. They don't want to see our little handwritten chicken scratch. And, it needs to be a professional presentation. And, I pick up stuff off the floor constantly. And they're always like, oh my gosh, don't touch stuff on the floor. And I'm like, first of all, I put a glove on. And next of all, I can't let it sit there. I can't walk past a piece of trash anywhere. I can't walk past a piece of trash and leave it sit there. So it's definitely part of, working at Disneyland is definitely a part of who I am, and it has colored the way that I do everything. And and I'm proud of that. I'm proud of it. It's not just a high school job. It's a whole life set of skills. And whether you worked there for one summer or you worked there for 30 years, those skills stick with you for the rest of your life. Yeah. And like you guys said, it's a family. When you hear somebody else, you meet them and they all used to work at Disneyland. Oh, what'd you do? I was a Jungle Cruise skipper. First of all, I would love to be a Jungle Cruise skipper. I would absolutely love it. Maybe when I retire as a nurse, I'm going to go be a skipper because I would be a real skipper. But you get this. You're instantly bonded with another person who has worked at the park. You just are. You meet them and you like you said, you can share. Oh, did you work on New Year's Eve? And I've worked plenty of them. And it's at the main entrance and guest relations, and it's definitely an experience that sticks with you, and you don't. It's kind of an unspoken sister and brotherhood, that we all have.
Yes. Definitely. Sure, yeah.
You guys are making me sad. Now I want to go back and work at the park.
Well, yeah. We do, the dreams, the waking up and you've just had a dream that you're back at the park, working or whatever.
Right? I have had dreams like that. I have had dreams that I'm back at the main entrance or, in guest relations, and they make me happy, and I wake up and I'm kind of bummed that I'm not actually there. But it's definitely it's part of who I am for sure. And I count myself so lucky that I flunked out of my first year of college to do it. It was so great. It took me 18 years to get that first bachelor's degree, you guys, but it was worth it.
Well, that's something, people go to work at Disneyland. And if they're going to college at the same time, see, I put myself, I was able to because I was being subsidized by my parents, but it was like, okay, I am going to put my school work first. I'm not gonna, because it gets very alluring where it's like, oh, I can pick up hours. Okay, I'll pick up hours, and then you need this money to survive, and then it's just like all of a sudden it's like you don't have you don't have time for your schoolwork or your classes, and you
Right.
know, and then for some people it works out. I mean, we've talked with people on this show where they never got their degree, but they had a great career at Disneyland.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I ended up ultimately getting a degree in psychology, my first one, and then my second bachelor's is in nursing. But it took me a long time, and I had kids along the way, and my younger son was diagnosed with leukemia in my second semester of nursing school, so
Oh
I
my
had that
gosh.
one. Yeah, he's well now, doing fine.
Good.
Mission, he's 15 and just got a driver's permit, so look out. But yeah, he's doing well. But it's interesting how the support system and the friendships that you build through working there kind of sustain you through the rest of your life, and it's really a special thing.
Oh yeah. Well, we could talk with you for hours and hours, I think. There's a lot to unpack here.
Yeah, I'm really enjoying talking with you guys, and I'm so glad and really honored that you invited me to be on your podcast. This is so exciting for me.
Well, thanks for joining us, and
thank you.
We you want to come back on the show sometime and talk about country bears? We could do that.
I would love to. I have a whole thing. There's like charts and graphs and an easel. I mean, you guys don't even know. I have a whole thing about the country bears. I love them, and I would love to come back and talk about them. Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you
so
for
much.
having me, and I look forward to chatting about country bears in the future.
Okay, well that concludes episode 291 of the Sweet Spot Podcast.
Wow. Well, we could have had her on for days.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure she had, many other stories. As we both know, I mean, we wrote, almost two books about our time there. But she, I'm sure she had a lot more, and we'd love to have her back. Thank you so much, Robyn, for coming on, and we will definitely have her back. Wanted to mention a few things before you go. You mentioned the books in the beginning. You can always get those on Amazon, paperback. You can get them on our website, signed. You can get them on Kindle. We have audio, the first book, and we are currently working on audio for the second book, which will be out sometime in the next year or less. And also, I wanted to mention, if you've listened to the show for a while and you enjoy it, if you've been listening and you don't enjoy it, I don't know what you're doing, but if you enjoyed the show, please go and leave a review. Wherever you listen, if it's on Apple Podcasts or Stitcher, I don't know if they let you leave reviews, but wherever you can leave a review, we'd really appreciate it. Help spread the word about us. Go back and listen to some of our archives. I was looking at some of the past shows because I've been trying to upload some of our past shows onto our YouTube channel, and I'm amazed at some of the guests we're so fortunate to have on our show. And so go back and listen to our archives. There's 290 besides this one. So
and let people know we're here.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, let them know. Pass the word. You get our t-shirts. Go to TeePublic. You have t-shirts. Go to our website. It has all the information on there. Check it out. But thank you so much for listening. We truly appreciate your support and your help. And we'll talk with you next time.